All right, we're on. What's happening today there, honey bunny? On Easter Sunday.
I know. Well, it's nice because the sun is shining and we've had a few warm days, and stuff is really starting to pop. But I wanted to show everybody what the gardens look like before they fill in and before I, take all those beautiful pictures. There's not much going on. This garden kind of got redone, reshaped because of this downspout. It's still a work in progress. But I added a quince last year, a red flowering quince, which has flower buds inside, and it came back, so I'm excited about that. Those I think are pretty easy. I'm not sure if it's going to be too big for that spot, but we'll figure that out. I cannot remember the name of these, but these bloom before the leaves come out. See how you have these clusters are the flowers, and they come up, they're early in the spring, and have a nice little corner of those. There's more. Oh, there's more here. Watch out, Cleo. I have a blind dog that can't seem to get out from under my feet ever. I have a weeping beech tree. I always confuse the two of those. And then some daylilies, a hydrangea, and then this hydrangea. If you live in the Northeast, you know that these are like, everyone loves them because they buy them in bloom. They have those big mop head blue or pink flower bunches. And the problem with these, they overwinter and they're hardy, but if we get a late frost, all of these buds that are made in the fall, they die. If we have nice weather like now and they start to swell and they start to open up and then we get a late frost, it kills the buds. So what happens is you don't get the blooms because they bloom on old wood. So you'll cut this whole thing back, which happens a lot, and then you might get like 1 or 2 flowers, but this thing gets 4 to 5 feet wide, and I always want it to be covered in blooms, but the buds always kind of die with the late frost. So this year we had kind of a normal spring. Everything's still kind of cold, so if we don't have a major cold snap between now and May, this may produce beautiful flowers this year, but that's like wishful thinking for me. These are those hydrangeas, the little quick fire hydrangeas. They get a pretty hard prune in the spring, and these, if you remember, we had tons of pollinators last year on them. They get white flowers pretty quickly in the season, and then they change to pink, and they just attract awesome bugs. But anyway, they got a nice hard prune. Peonies are coming up, and then this is the sun garden that we did the perennial garden tour video on, and this is what it looks like in the spring. This is early spring, so things are coming up. So we have the sedum. These are those little, they look like little rosettes, but sedum is ready to go. There's some yarrow in the front there. Have some daylilies and daffodils. Catmint. Have some more daylilies. Oh, so remember you were like having a heart attack about the $175 tree peony?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, you do. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that the camera shook when I was pointing it out when it wasn't in bloom, and then you couldn't even find it because it wasn't in bloom. Anyway, that's the tree peony, and it has tons of buds. So this year you'll see why it was worth it.
Tons of buds. It looks like it has about a few. I'd say it's about $25 a bud looking at it.
There's 10 buds that probably will give me a flower.
Yeah.
And about 10 more that are going to give me more.
So we're running about $20 a bud then.
Oh my God. Who
per
thinks
plant.
like that?
What do you mean who thinks like that?
This is just pretty. And we'll just leave it at that.
It don't look too pretty right now.
Well, it will be.
Well, it better sing me a song for that amount of money.
Oh my God. You better sing me a song.
Yeah, I will.
So what else is in
Going
here?
broke,
So those are like the ruby spider daylilies. One of my favorites that really stand out. There's 3 clumps there coming up. Have some lavender in the front, which doesn't look all that great, but generally I'll just cut that back to the ground and let it rejuvenate itself. So all the green that you see in here, these are mostly allium. So those are those big stalks with the big purple puffballs on the top. That's pretty much a lot of what's coming up in here. Daylilies and allium. But it's exciting because it's waking up.
And I'm growing.
And it's hard to believe that this garden fills in the way it does when it starts off like this.
So you're not going to put anything else in this garden. You're just going to kind of throw some mulch on it and it's going to turn into what it normally does?
Well, I don't know. Are you asking me because you have it on the record, or are you asking me because you're asking my plans for the garden?
Well, you changed this garden up from last year's video, right?
I did. I actually added this little path so I could get to here, so I could film like butterflies and plants and whatever. I also revamped this whole interior section. I added lots of things, so we'll see how it comes up. Like, if it doesn't really look the way I want it to, I'll probably move and add and stuff. But I you know, every time I revamp it in the fall, it always comes back and it looks great. So hopefully I don't ruin my record of doing that.
You probably wouldn't want, you probably would want to move all your green plants because it's all green.
I know. Well, this, I don't really mind. Right now it's all just starting to fill in. But if you look, like, there's euphorbia coming in, and that's bright red. There's a euphorbia back there that's kind of a purpley color. So there's some spring colors coming in here. The deer have eaten that section of daylilies already, so I do have to spray because I get a lot of questions about deer, and we have them, and I just do my best to manage them. There's nothing else I can do. Yeah.
So that's the benefit of having a perennial garden, is you really don't have to do much. If you like it, then all you have to do is kind of have your husband clean it out and do all the hard stuff, and then you enjoy it.
Hold on a second. This whole thing, actually all of these gardens, I did myself this spring.
Oh, here we go.
I did. I cleaned all of these out. And honestly, I wouldn't want you helping because your idea of cleaning out would be raking them across the freaking coals. They need gentle.
I'll remember this. Well, we will definitely refer to the video later on.
I don't have you help me with the spring cleanup. Maybe picking up the piles that I rake out, but not.
I just picked up like 10,000 piles of pug poop.
Oh yeah. Well,
Thank
that's
you
your
very
job.
much.
It was your pug, so.
Yeah.
Your pug, your poop. This right here is a St. John's wort I added. So my friend has one of these in her garden, and it gets literally like 3, 4, 5 feet wide, and you can prune them back pretty hard in the spring. And it gets beautiful yellow flowers. It's a nice filler. So if you remember, I had a Woodgelia in here. It was pretty, but it didn't do anything, and it didn't flower for some reason. It was like one of those hybrids that I couldn't not buy. Hey, stay on the rocks. You're crushing my plants. So I replaced that because it was nice, but it didn't really do what I wanted it to. So I think this will fill in this corner a little bit better. I added a beauty berry with those beautiful pink berries in the fall, and it has nice foliage. And then I have a viburnum. I have a viburnum back there, and I'm going to have another one here because the flowers are really pretty. Up on top, you probably can't see them from here, but they have little buds, and they're going to open up white, and then they're supposed to get red berries, but something always eats mine before the berries come out, so it's a little frustrating. But it's still it's pretty in the spring. What else? These are where the Mamma Mia coneflowers are. They're still sleeping. But that tree peony, this is the one that got hit. If you watched the tree peony video from last year, this one got hit with rose cane borers. So what happens is, if you've ever had rose cane borers, you know that they take the stem and they enter the stem, and then they eat the inside middle part of the stem, and it basically rots. They eat the center. So whatever's on that stem, if it happens to be buds, is no good. So I had to really hack that back. But it still has a decent shape, and it started to regenerate growth from the base. So that's good, because that means that they're going to fill in. And one more thing you have to manage. But if you have a garden this big and you have so many things in it, you don't really have to worry too much about too many bad bugs.
So a bee is burrowing in that.
It basically takes all the healthy stuff out of the center of the stem and makes this big hole where it just ends up rotting and the stems are supposed to be providing moisture and nutrients and life to the buds and the branches, and It can't happen if there's a hollow stem. So the jerks are gonna have to get an eviction notice somehow, and then.
Is there any way to stop them from doing it? Pesticide of some sort? You don't use that. Everything's...
Yeah, you can, but I don't. And he said that if you cut back the stem, keep cutting until there's no more hollow stem, and then put glue or clay over it so that they can't burrow back in. But at this point, I would just hack the whole thing back and let the new growth come and take over, because poor thing.
It does look like it's wilting over here a little bit.
Yes, it's taking over. I have a feeling I'm going to be hacking the whole thing back.
So if you hacked it all the way back, do you think it would come back to normal?
It would. It's already starting to regenerate at the bottom.
Yes,
Got
it
new
is.
growth coming from the bottom, so I wouldn't lose it, but it would definitely be a setback, because instead of getting 20 buds a year, I'm down to 9 buds right now. And get out of there before you step on my coneflowers.
Well, I can't film and walk at the same time.
You shouldn't be in the garden. You're compacting my soil, and that's really unhealthy. Get out.
Yeah, well...
Now. Get out.
Yes,
You're
I will.
sinking and you're causing problems.
Oh,
already.
please. Hey, I had to get over there to find out what the tree peony problem was.
No, you don't. You don't care.
Yes,
So,
I do.
No, you're actually causing more problems by trying to pretend you care about a problem. More allium, more hydrangea. So this is a vanilla strawberry hydrangea, and this gets bright red stems on it with a nice white and pink flowers. But last year this didn't get bright red stems for me, so they told me I had to hard prune it, and all the new growth is red stems. We'll see. So I did hard prune it, and I have another one over there because they were super pretty when I bought them, and then they just kind of went to brown. So hoping that one kind of musters up some prettiness on its stems.
What's up with this tree? It's getting awful big. Doesn't it block the sun in your sun garden?
This is a viburnum, and no, because I thin it. And you know what? The sun path goes over this way, so maybe in the morning, but the things that are in there are part sun, so it doesn't matter. They do pretty well. If something struggles, I move it.
I do recall moving one from here last year.
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes, 2 years ago.
I still have post-traumatic stress over that one.
What happened to that shrub?
I don't know what happened to it. What's that?
It's in the shrub bank.
Yeah, and it did nothing.
That's our shrub bank with 2 shrubs.
It gets to sit down there and look at where it used to live.
Well,
and say, wow, it's so sunny up there and it's so shady down here.
It's okay, but I had to make room for this beautiful piece of art. That's
Yeah, here's the big $175 Peony plant.
That doesn't do anything.
What color are those flowers going to be? Green?
They're
Like
bubblegum pink.
$100 bill green?
Bubblegum pink.
Bubblegum pink. Wonderful. I can't wait to see it, really.
You saw it last year.
Yeah, well, I wasn't impressed, obviously.
Well, you didn't know it cost that much.
I kind of remember you saying something, but the names of these plants are too difficult to remember. Sorry, I have a hard time with names, let alone peonies and clematis and all this other chlamydia and all this other garbage you got going on.
Yeah. Yay.
So what do we have? One more garden to look at here, or you got anything else you want to tell us?
No, I think that's it. There's a lot of weeds in there, though. I can show you what they look like if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to yank them out.
Oh,
So,
this is sedum.
so what about what is this?
That's sedum. It's sort of now growing outside the garden, but.
We have artists.
So what do you have in that final garden up there? Are we going to go see that, or are you done?
What final garden?
The garden up there. Wouldn't you consider that a sun garden?
That I always call the cottage garden because that's the look I was going for, but
It's called a what?
I wanted it to have a cottage garden look. Like everything would just be spiky and sort of informal. I mean, all my gardens are kind of informal, but I have, you know, like the Stelladoros are right here. I have a group of peonies, a hydrangea that the deer ate the right side of, but it is coming back, so I did hard prune that. We have phylacterum back there that hasn't started to come out yet. This is another tree peony. Lots of buds on it. I ordered this one off eBay like 6 years ago, maybe. It was supposed to be all white, and it opens this pale pinkish color, and then it goes to all white. So I'm not sure I would call it all white, but it's pretty. And it does eventually get to all white. But catmint, there's a viburnum, a royal smoke bush, which I'm trying to decide, should I hack that back? Last year, if you look, I have these big pruned branches. And when you prune it here, look what happened. It gave me like 20 stalks. So, you know, it doesn't mind being pruned back, but it gets really tall. So I was sort of trying to keep it from doing that, but it wants to do what it wants to do. So I guess I'm gonna leave it like that for the year and see what happens. Other than that, what else? That is that's a Rosa Sharon. It's a double blue, it's blue chiffon, Rosa Sharon. I hacked a limb off that too because last year it bloomed and the whole front limb was so heavy with flowers that it just like leaned forward. So I got rid of that. Yeah.
So what do you have left to do? Like, what is left to do?
What?
A little raking out and maybe throwing some mulch in, and
These
then
are pretty cleaned out. I mean, other than like, there's some stems that are laying down, and dog crap that your dog has to like poop on top of my plants. He can't just do it in between on ground. He has to go on top of the plants.
I think your dog just went to the bathroom in your garden.
On top of the grass?
Might have. Jax, come on. Dog crap is not good fertilizer.
God.
You stepped in it.
It smelled and now it's on my flip-flop.
Well, at least you didn't kneel in
You
it.
come clean this up and turn that stupid camera off.
What?
Come clean it up off my shoe.
Why? How am I supposed to clean?
You bend down.
How am I supposed to clean it up off your shoe? Jax, what are you doing, buddy?
Oh yeah, you give him a big walk for him.
Come on, no more of this. Can't you tell she's mad at you?
So you'll probably rake that out and cut it back. And then it needs a top dress of plant tone from Espoma, and that's the one I use. And then I'll give it a layer of compost, and then I'll mulch it.
So there's still work to be done. It doesn't just come up every year. You got to get your butt out there and
Yes.
do
But
some
I love
work.
doing that though, because if you don't do that, then the plants aren't healthy enough to resist bad things happening to them. You know, you gotta like, it's like your kids. You gotta feed them, otherwise they're not worth anything. You know, they're not gonna act right. They're not gonna behave right. They're not gonna grow.
If you are what you eat, they're junk food.
Well, yeah, today.
Your son's a hot dog, and your daughter is a potato chip.
Pretty much. With a side of ice cream.
Well, great. I guess that's going to do it for this episode of Guiding Green Thumbs, our spring garden tour, I guess you're going to call it. What do you call
this is
it?
not spring. This is I just wanted to show what the gardens look like before anything really gets going, because there's not much going on. That you can start to see a little green, but it's pretty amazing when you see this compared to where we'll be in 2 months.
This is yellow. It's finally coming up.
Yeah, we have a daffodil that's about to bloom, our first one.
It's just yellow.
So, yeah, so it's interesting, right? Emma, are you licking the rock?
No, she's drawing them.
No, did you lick the rock?
No, she has her
Stop
face in the
answering for her. Did you lick the rock? No, don't say sorry. Just don't lick the rock.
If you are what you eat, you're bird poop probably now. Nasty.
Yeah.
So that's it. We'll see how this starts to fill in every couple weeks.
Until I sit on it.
I'd like to say then I would sit on you, but I don't know if I could tackle you. You're starting to be bigger than me. Oh.
Oh my God.
So that's it?
That's it. We'll check back in a couple weeks and to be amazed at how different it looks.
Just stick.
Looks like a peony root.
Good. Put these kids to work.
Time to get the wheelbarrows.
Start mulching there, Munchkin.
No, 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 no.
Later.